Alright, today I'm going to be changing the water pump mechanical seal on the cx500. So I put my bike back together and it was giving me a tiny coolant drip right out of this area here. And that's because there's a weep hole behind the impeller. So if the seal leaks, it's going to leak coolant out here, and you'll see a small drip of coolant come down off your starter, off your shifter, and onto the ground. So to fix that, I'm going to be changing it, and I'm going to do that with the engine in the bike, and I'm going to be using a method where we use a modified Yamaha seal, and the modified Yamaha seal will go into the existing cup that is in the engine already. So especially since this bike is a 78, the 78 has a even smaller bore, so even if you bought the Honda seal, the Honda seal won't fit in the hole, and you have to modify it and enlarge the hole. So that's where we're at, and I'm going to break the bike down a little bit. Alright, I've broken the bike down a little bit. I've pulled off the left-hand carburetor, and now I can get really easy access. I don't think I'll have to take off anything more than this. So I'm going to go get a pan and we'll drain the coolant out and get these bolts off. We have to take off these two large ones, and there's these small 8mm bolts around it. So I've got my hot plate on low. I've got a metal plate on top of the burner to help distribute the heat, and I'm just going to let it sit there for about 3 minutes until I can kind of smell the glue, and it pulls off very easy once it's at the right temperature. And there it is. So now I've got the cover plate off, and this is the water pump impeller. So I'm going to take off this nut, and there's a copper washer, and then I can remove the impeller. On closer inspections of things, I'm going to see if I can show you this. The impeller wiggles on the shaft like this right now, and that nut is really tight, so something's up. So I'm going to take it apart and we'll try and figure out why. Maybe the copper washer is not on right or something. I don't know. Alright, so I've got the water pump impeller off, and this is the original seal. Actually, I re-glued this back in when I did the first rebuild, but so I'll pull it back out. Let's see if it comes out by hand. Alright, so now what I've thrown the impeller back on just to check, and you can see actually the shaft, the camshaft, protrudes past the impeller a little bit with nothing on it, so I think that's why it was loose earlier. So to fix that, I'm going to put a small shim behind the impeller to push it out, maybe 10 thou, and I think that should take care of that. Alright, so now I've got the old seal cleaned out. The cup is pretty clean, and what I'm going to do next is I'm going to glue put the seal head in here. Some people call it the polo mint, and it's just the ceramic part of the seal. And also, I figured out why my seal was not sealing all the way, and this spacer is supposed to go behind the impeller, so this would go there and push the impeller out. Fortunately, I got a spare motor, and I pulled the impeller off that motor, and I was able to use that washer, so I didn't even have to go too far. So I'm going to glue that together, and we'll get the seal in there. So this is the modified seal, and I've taken it out of this cup using a stove, a little burner to heat it up, and now I'm going to slip this into this cup, which is already installed in the engine. And first I'm going to put a little bit of Permatex on there, like the teeniest little drop, like that's probably more than I'm going to use. So put a little bit of this inside the seal. I guess I'll use it off. And now I'm going to plop that in there. And one other note, so inside the seal there are two little notches. Let's see if I can get them to light up. There's one here. And those notches line up with these notches on the cup, so that makes it so that this doesn't rotate. And also you want your seal to be so clean that you can see the light shine off of it if you tilt it. And if you see any smears on it, that means there's grease or contaminants, and that's going to make it not seal. So you want to make sure this is extremely clean. And I now have the mechanical seal installed in the cup. An important note is that this should be free to spring in and out, and ready to start reassembling now. Okay, so now I've got everything put back together, mostly. I've got coolant in it, but I don't have the cap on it, and I need to put the gas tank on, start it up, and let it idle for a couple of minutes, and check the coolant level after that, make sure there's no immediate leaks. Alright, we're gonna see if it starts up and doesn't leak through the next caveat. I've got it warmed up pretty good, and I think we're all right. It's not leaking.